Ever wondered how many people have died because of Batman? As a superhero, he doesn't kill.
Don't kill me, man!
Which is one of his most defining moral characteristics. But have you ever wondered how many people would have lived if he did?
I'm not going to kill you. I'm Batman.
Today, we examine the body counts of Batman's most infamous foes to finally uncover the staggering consequences of prioritizing his personal no-kill rule over the safety of the very people he's sworn to protect. From low-level threats to global annihilators, this countdown chronicles Gotham's deadliest criminals and the innocent lives lost only after their first encounters with the Caped Crusader across all forms of media. Starting off our list, Kirk Langstrom's tragic transformation into Man-Bat began in Detective Comics number 400. Langstrom, a brilliant zoologist, sought to push the boundaries of human evolution by developing a serum that could grant echolocation abilities similar to bats. However, his experiment backfired, mutating him into a monstrous creature with all the swag Batman wished he had: heightened strength, flight, and animalistic instincts with the looks to match. Batman first encountered Langstrom during his initial transformation. What started as a scientific breakthrough quickly spiraled into terror as Man-Bat rampaged through Gotham streets. Langstrom's loss of control forced Batman to confront him not just as a villain, but as a victim of his own hubris. Despite being subdued and returned to human form, Langstrom's serum continued to pull him back into his monstrous alter ego, leading to repeated confrontations with the Dark Knight. Since their first meeting, Man-Bat's transformations have left a trail of accidental deaths, often caused by his uncontrollable rage and primal instincts. Civilians caught in his path have fallen victim to his violent outbursts, while his reckless flights have caused collateral damage in crowded urban areas across the city. Langstrom's repeated failures to contain his condition have resulted in an estimated 20 to 50 post-Batman deaths to date, painting him as a tragic figure trapped between humanity and monstrosity. Next, Victor Fries was first introduced in Batman number 121 as Mr. Zero, a relatively minor villain with a gimmick for ice-based weaponry. However, his tragic backstory was fully realized decades later in Batman the Animated Series. As Dr. Freeze, he was a brilliant scientist working to save his terminally ill wife Nora through cryogenic preservation. A tragic accident caused by corporate sabotage left Freeze unable to survive outside sub-zero temperatures, transforming him into the villain known as Mr. Freeze. This reinvention turned Freeze into a deeply complex figure, driven by love and loss. His first clashes with Batman were marked by his icy rampages as he sought vengeance against those who wronged him. Despite his criminal actions, Freeze's motives often blur the line between villain and victim, forcing Batman to question the nature of justice. And Arnold Schwarzenegger's accent. Although Mr. Freeze doesn't kill indiscriminately, his use of cryogenic weaponry and willingness to resort to extreme measures since meeting Batman have resulted in significant casualties. Civilians have been frozen solid during heists, with some even shattered to pieces as collateral damage. In the Heart of Ice storyline, his personal vendettas leave behind an avalanche of destruction and death. To date, Freeze's estimated 50 to 100 post-Batman deaths reflect a villain whose humanity is frozen solid beneath layers of vengeance and grief. Further up, Harley Quinn debuted in the Batman the Animated Series episode Joker's Favor, before transitioning to the comics in the Batman Adventures number 12 a year later. Originally Dr. Harleen Quinzel, a brilliant psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum, Harley fell for the Joker during their therapy sessions, becoming his loyal and equally unhinged partner in crime. Batman first encountered Harley Quinn while she acted as an accomplice to the Joker. What initially seemed like a one-time sidekick role soon blossomed into a deadly dynamic between the two. Harley's acrobatics, ingenuity, and unpredictability made her a formidable foe in her own right, often catching Batman off guard. While Harley's body count doesn't nearly reach Joker's devastating heights, her chaotic nature and violent tendencies have still left behind a bloody trail. From heists to gang wars and her moments of independence from the Joker, Harley has been responsible for an estimated 50 to 100 post-Batman deaths to date. Her charm and humor mask a ruthlessness that cements her as one of Gotham's deadliest figures. Coming in at 17, Firefly first appeared in Detective Comics number 184 as Garfield Linz, a down-on-his-luck pyrotechnics expert who turned to crime after losing his job. Initially a thief who used his knowledge of fire as a distraction, Firefly evolved into something far more dangerous in later iterations. By the time of his modern appearances, Linz had become a full-blown arsonist, obsessed with flames and destruction. Batman first encountered Firefly during one of his heists, where Linz's use of controlled fires created chaos across Gotham. Despite being apprehended, Linz escaped and returned with increasingly destructive ambitions. His signature fireproof suit and flamethrower allowed him to commit larger-scale crimes, from setting Gotham's landmarks ablaze to causing citywide destruction. Firefly's later activities have been marked by large-scale arson attacks that leave devastation in their wake, from torching apartment complexes to igniting catastrophic explosions. Linz's obsession with fire has claimed an estimated 50 to 100 post-Batman lives so far. His fires don't just destroy property, they consume innocents trapped in the anarchy, leaving Gotham to mourn over the ashes of his chaos. Next up, Thomas Elliot, better known as Hush, made his chilling debut in Batman number 609. As a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne, Elliot grew up resentful of the Wayne family after his parents' deaths left him yearning for the wealth and power Bruce inherited. Fueled by jealousy, Elliot became a gifted surgeon, using his skills and intellect to craft elaborate schemes aimed at destroying Batman. In their first major confrontation, Hush used Gotham's criminal elite to execute a coordinated plan to dismantle Batman's life. Manipulating villains like the Riddler, Poison Ivy, and even the Joker, Elliot orchestrated a series of events designed to test Bruce Wayne's limits, both physically and emotionally. This personal vendetta revealed Hush as not just another villain, but a deeply personal enemy who understood Bruce in a way few others could. Hush's surgical precision extends beyond his medical skills. His calculated murders, often part of larger schemes, have left an estimated 50 to 100 post-Batman victims dead in his quest to break Batman so far. Unlike many villains, Hush's attacks are deeply personal, targeting those closest to Bruce. Entering the top 15, Jervis Tetch, inspired by Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, first appeared in Batman number 49. A socially awkward neuroscientist, Tetch became obsessed with mind control, creating devices that allowed him to manipulate others' thoughts and actions. His fixation on Carroll's work soon extended to recreating Wonderland in the real world, with himself as the Mad Hatter. Batman first encountered Tetch during one of his early schemes, where the villain used his hypnotic technology to commit robberies and manipulate unsuspecting civilians. However, Tetch's obsession with Alice, usually an innocent woman he sees as a proxy for Carroll's fictional character, frequently escalates into stalking, abduction, and ultimately murder. Despite Batman's efforts to stop him, Tetch's warped psyche ensures his return to Gotham streets time and again. The Mad Hatter's mind control schemes often result in deadly consequences, from driving victims to commit suicide to creating elaborate death traps inspired by Wonderland. Tetch's actions have caused an estimated 75 to 100 post-Batman deaths since first encountering the Caped Crusader. His unsettling obsession with bending reality to his twisted fantasies makes him one of Gotham's most psychologically disturbing villains. Next, the original Clayface, Basil Karlo, first appeared in Detective Comics number 40 as an actor turned murderer. Inspired by his own horror movie roles, Karlo targeted former colleagues in a bloody revenge spree. Later iterations of Clayface, such as Matt Hagen and Preston Payne, expanded the character's powers, introducing shape-shifting abilities that made him a far more formidable foe. Batman's initial encounter with Karlo was a battle of wits, as the actor used his theatrical skills and disguises to evade capture. However, as Clayface evolved into a being capable of mimicking others' appearances and altering his physical form, Batman faced a villain who could infiltrate, deceive, and destroy with unparalleled precision. Since their first encounter, Clayface's shape-shifting powers have been used to infiltrate organizations, impersonate victims, and commit brutal murders. Civilians have fallen prey to his violent tendencies, often unable to anticipate his attacks. With an estimated 100 to 200 post-Batman deaths, Clayface remains a horrifying example of what power corrupted by vengeance looks like. Up further still, Waylon Jones, better known as Killer Croc, first slithered onto the pages of Batman number 357. Born with a rare genetic condition that gave him reptilian features, Jones was ostracized from society and forced into a life of crime. After spending his youth in freak shows and underground wrestling circuits, he eventually became a brutal enforcer for Gotham's criminal underworld. Batman's first encounter with Croc came as the monster terrorized Gotham's docks, using his massive size and strength to control the smuggling trade. Batman quickly realized that Croc's primal instincts made him one of the most physically dangerous foes he had ever faced. Despite his best efforts to subdue Croc, Jones's deep-seated anger and survival instincts ensured that he would escape custody time and time again, always returning to wreak havoc. Killer Croc's reputation for brutality is well earned. His monstrous strength, coupled with his willingness to devour victims, makes him a terrifying force in Gotham. Croc's rampages have resulted in an estimated 100 to 200 post-Batman deaths, often leaving a trail of maimed bodies in his wake. Despite occasional glimpses of humanity, Croc remains a beast driven by his basest of instincts. At 12, the Penguin made his first appearance in Detective Comics number 58, waddling into Gotham as a sophisticated yet ruthless criminal mastermind. Born Oswald Chesterfield Cobblepot, the Penguin grew up ostracized due to his short stature and bird-like appearance. Seeking power and respect, he turned to crime, using his intellect and resources to build an empire in Gotham's underworld. Batman's first encounter with the Penguin involved foiling one of his early heists, where Cobblepot's signature weaponized umbrellas and cunning tactics gave the Dark Knight a run for his money. Despite being apprehended, Cobblepot quickly emerged as one of Gotham's most influential crime lords, using his nightclub, the Iceberg Lounge, as a front for illegal activities. The Penguin's operations, including assassinations, smuggling, and arms dealing, have resulted in an estimated 200 to 300 post-Batman deaths. While he prefers to stay removed from the action, Cobblepot's orders have left a deadly impact on Gotham citizens. His blend of sophistication and savagery makes him one of Batman's most enduring adversaries. Once a bright beacon of hope for Gotham, Harvey Dent's fall from grace began in Detective Comics number 66, when he apparently had lived long enough to become the villain. As Gotham's district attorney, Dent worked alongside Batman and Commissioner Gordon to clean up the city. However, his career and sanity were shattered when he was left horribly disfigured after an attack, triggering a split personality. Two-Face's first clash with Batman came after his transformation, when he embraced his darker side and began a campaign of crime dictated by the flip of a coin. Despite his descent into villainy, remnants of Dent's former self often surface, creating moments of moral conflict. Driven by his obsession with chance, Two-Face's coin flips often determine life or death for his victims. His gang wars, robberies, and vendettas have left an estimated 200 to 300 post-Batman dead, as Dent's internal battle between justice and chaos spills into Gotham streets. Entering the top 10, Poison Ivy made her debut in Batman number 181, entering Gotham as an eco-terrorist with a flair for the dramatic. A former botanist, Pamela Isley was transformed into Poison Ivy after being exposed to experimental plant toxins that gave her control over flora and immunity to poisons. Batman's first encounter with Ivy revealed her ability to manipulate both people and plants to achieve her goals. Using pheromones to control her victims, Ivy quickly established herself as a formidable opponent. Her initial crimes involved seducing and manipulating wealthy men, but her agenda soon evolved into large-scale ecological campaigns, often targeting Gotham itself. Since their first encounter, Ivy's schemes often involve mass poisonings, citywide plant takeovers, and targeted assassinations. Her eco-terrorism has resulted in an estimated 200 to 300 post-Batman deaths, demonstrating the deadly consequences of her crusade to save the planet at any cost. Next up, Roman Sionis, the man behind the Black Mask, was introduced in Batman number 386. Once the heir to a wealthy family, Sionis' resentment towards Gotham's elite drove him to destroy his own family fortune and reinvent himself as a crime lord. Donning a mask carved from his father's coffin, Black Mask became a symbol of terror in Gotham's underworld. Batman's first encounter with Black Mask was marked by the villain's use of his False Face Society, a criminal organization that terrorized Gotham with brutal efficiency. Pionus's sadistic tendencies quickly made him one of Batman's most dangerous foes, as he targeted both criminals and innocents to solidify his power. Black Mask's reign as a crime lord has left an estimated 200 to 300 post-Batman dead, with his penchant for torture and intimidation making him a particularly gruesome figure in Gotham's criminal hierarchy. Up even higher, Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, first emerged in World's Finest Comics #3 as a brilliant but unhinged psychologist obsessed with fear. Bullied as a child for his lanky frame and peculiar demeanor, Crane turned his trauma into a lifelong study of fear, using his academic background to create a potent fear toxin that forces victims to experience their worst nightmares. Batman's first encounter with the Scarecrow occurred during a string of crimes designed to test Crane's fear-inducing methods. As Crane released his fear toxin across Gotham, he left terrified civilians in a state of hysteria. Despite Batman's ability to overcome the effects of the toxin, Crane's ingenuity and relentless pursuit of his twisted experiments ensured his escape and repeated clashes with the Dark Knight. Since first meeting, Scarecrow's toxin has caused deaths both directly and indirectly. Victims have suffered fatal heart attacks, accidents while fleeing hallucinations, and even suicides brought on by unbearable fear. Crane's experiments and citywide attacks have led to an estimated 300 to 400 post-Batman deaths, marking him as one of Gotham's most psychologically devastating villains. Even more deadly, Victor Zsasz was introduced in Batman Shadow of the Bat #1 as a cold and remorseless serial killer. A former wealthy playboy, Zsasz's life spiraled into nihilism after losing his family and fortune. He came to see life as meaningless, dedicating himself to liberating people by killing them. Each murder is marked with a tally carved into his skin, leaving his body a grotesque canvas of his crimes. Batman first encountered Zsasz during one of his killing sprees, where the murderer targeted random civilians across Gotham. Zsasz's unpredictability and lack of motive made him an especially difficult foe to track. Though Batman managed to apprehend him, Zsasz's cunning ensured his repeated escapes from Arkham Asylum, allowing him to continue his grim work. Since their first encounter, Zsasz's unrelenting spree of killings has left an estimated 500+ post-Batman victims in his wake. Unlike many victims, Zsasz doesn't rely on elaborate schemes or grand ambitions. He kills for the sake of killing, making him one of Batman's most terrifyingly straightforward foes. Next, Bane stormed into Gotham's Rogues Gallery in Batman Vengeance of Bane. Born and raised in the hellish Peña Doro prison, Bane developed his body and mind to become the perfect weapon of destruction. Fueled by a potent drug called Venom, Bane possesses immense strength and a strategic mind, making him one of Batman's deadliest foes. Batman's first encounter with Bane occurred during the infamous Nightfall storyline. In an orchestrated effort to break Batman physically and mentally, Bane freed the inmates of Arkham Asylum, unleashing chaos across Gotham. After exhausting Batman through relentless battles with his rogues, Bane delivered the final blow by breaking the Dark Knight's back. Bane's calculated violence extends beyond personal vendettas. His reign during City of Bane and his alliances with mercenaries have resulted in an estimated 500+ post-Batman deaths, many of them collateral casualties in his quest for domination. Kicking off the top 5, Talia al Ghul debuted in Detective Comics #411, revealing herself as the daughter of Ra's al Ghul and an enigmatic figure torn between loyalty to her father's League of Assassins and her love for Batman. Their first encounter was steeped in intrigue, with Talia aiding Batman against her father's enemies while secretly advancing Ra's plans. Her charm and intelligence quickly made her a unique character in Batman's world. Unlike other villains, Talia often manipulates Batman emotionally, using their romantic history to further her goals. This dynamic, paired with her lethal efficiency, ensures her role as both ally and adversary. Since their first tussle, Talia's leadership within the League of Assassins has left a bloody trail. She's orchestrated assassinations, invasions, and attacks that have claimed an estimated 500 to 1,000 post-Batman lives. From destabilizing nations to targeting Gotham itself, Talia's act her commitment to her father's vision, even if it means beefing with Bay. Next up, Deadshot debuted in Batman number 59 as a flashy vigilante who quickly revealed his true colors as a hired assassin. Floyd Lawton, known for his impeccable aim, is one of the world's deadliest marksmen. His pragmatic approach to killing sets him apart from Gotham's more theatrical villains, making him a dangerous foe for Batman. Batman's first encounter with Deadshot came during one of his early assassination attempts, where Lawton used his precision and cunning to stay several steps ahead of the Dark Knight. While Deadshot has no personal vendetta against Batman, their paths often cross due to Lawton's contracts with Gotham's criminal elite. As a professional assassin, Deadshot's global career has left an estimated 750 to 1,000 post-Batman victims in its wake. His methodical approach ensures that every kill serves a purpose, but the staggering number of lives lost paints an impressive picture of how many zeros must be in his bank account balance. At number 3, the legendary Joker made his debut in Batman number 1, introducing himself with a chilling promise: Gotham would bleed. From his earliest schemes, the Clown Prince of Crime demonstrated his lethal mix of unpredictability, intelligence, and bloodlust. His obsession with Batman quickly became his defining characteristic, framing their relationship as a twisted game of cat and mouse. Batman's first encounter with the Joker ended with the villain's capture, but his escape was inevitable. Each subsequent clash brought new horrors, from mass poisonings to citywide bombings, as the Joker escalated his reign of terror in pursuit of chaos. The Joker's body count is nearly unparalleled among Gotham's rogues. With entire city blocks poisoned, countless civilians murdered in orchestrated massacres, and even personal vendettas like Jason Todd's death, the Joker's estimated 1,000-plus post-Batman deaths makes him one of Gotham's most dangerous individual villains. At number 2, Professor Pig debuted in Batman number 666, introducing Gotham to one of its most disturbing villains. A deranged surgeon obsessed with fixing humanity, Laszlo Valentine kidnaps his victims and mutilates them into mindless Dollatrons. Batman's first encounter with Pig revealed the depths of his madness. The villain's gruesome operations and theatrical flair made him a uniquely horrifying adversary. Despite being apprehended, Pig's escape and return to his twisted work have solidified him as one of Gotham's most disturbing threats. Since their first encounter, Professor Pig's surgical massacres and abductions have left an estimated 1,000-plus post-Batman victims, making him one of Batman's most grotesque foes. Taking the top spot, Ra's al Ghul first appeared in Batman number 232, introducing himself as the leader of the League of Assassins. With centuries of life granted by the Lazarus Pit, Ra's seeks to restore balance to the world through mass genocide. Batman's first encounter with Ra's revealed the villain's respect for the Dark Knight, whom he viewed as a worthy successor. Despite their philosophical differences, Ra's sees Batman as a kindred spirit, making their clashes as personal as they are ideological. Since their meeting, Ra's al Ghul's campaigns of global destruction, including viral outbreaks and orchestrated assassinations, have claimed an estimated 5,000-plus post-Batman lives, making him Batman's deadliest foe. Batman's no-kill rule is the cornerstone of his identity, but as the blood-soaked history of his rogues gallery shows, his personal moral code has come at a staggering cost. Adding up the list and throwing a few extra in for good measure, we estimate 12,000 to 15,000 innocent citizens have been killed by villains who escaped Batman's justice only to return and kill again and again and again. Now, knowing what we know, the question must be asked: was it worth it?